សមាជិកគណៈបក្សសង្គ្រោះជាតិប្រាជ្ញាផ្លេចមានសាមគ្គីក្នុងនានាសង្គ្រោះបម្រើការពារកម្ពុជាខ្មែរព្រមគ្រប់គ្នាទាមទារសិទ្ធិសេរីឯករាជ្យបូរណភាពអធិបតេយ្យខ្មែរប្រុសស្រីបដូរផ្ដាច់ថែរក្សាមិនឲ្យបរទេសឈ្លានពានមកត្រួតត្រាសម្បត្តិដូនតាធនធានជាតិខ្មែរ
Hello and good evening. Welcome to our show. This is Khmer Youth Voices for Justice. My name is Linda. Today is Tuesday, August the 10th, 2021. This show is part of the CNRP-America TV show. I am broadcasting live from Los Angeles, California. Again, thank you for joining us. Before we start, I would like to say thank you for continuing to support our petitions at change.org. Last week, we reached a milestone. We actually received 100,000 signatures. So thank you so much for everyone who participated and signed our petitions at change.org. Our petitions is called Ending Impunity for Justice in Cambodia. Even though we received over 100,000 signatures, our work is not done yet. We will continue to collect signature. So please continue to share and help to spread and share our petitions. Please join me to support Ending Impunity for Justice in Cambodia, a worldwide campaign to find justice for victims of Cambodian backstate killing. Together, we hold Hun Sen and his allies responsible for continuing to kill and hurt Cambodians. Ending Impunity for Justice in Cambodia is a campaign seeking support from Cambodian communities inside and outside the country, and also from support from non-Cambodian as well. Our aim is to receive 500,000 signatures, but as of last week, we have 100,000 signatures, and thank you so much, and please continue to share and pass our signature around help sign our petitions at change.org. I have a short video clip. Please watch, because that's explain the reason why we are seeking your signature and we seeking your support at change.org. Thank you.
Between 1975 and 1979, the green rice fields of Cambodia became the killing fields of Cambodia. Over 2 million lives were lost, including the lives of my own parents and many of my relatives. The Khmer Rouge wanted a society that is equal according to them. We still live and we are haunted with the legacy of the Khmer Rouge, which is the culture of impunity that continues to exist in Cambodia today. It is for this reason that we have started a campaign, worldwide campaign, a campaign to end impunity in Cambodia by seeking justice for cases, for the executions, for the killings that are organized, that are backed by the state. Among those cases of state-backed killings are the killings of Chivichir, a very famous trade union leader, Bisep Pilaka, a ballet dancer, of Kemley, an independent analyst, of Chutvuti, a well-known environmentalist, of Venerable Sun Bunthurn, who was advocating for the monks to have the right to vote, including workers who demanded fair wages. The campaign will also advocate for governments that are members of the United Nations to put pressure on the government of Cambodia to conduct independent investigations by using universal tools such as the UN Protocol for Independent Investigation. The campaign will also advocate for governments that believe and want to protect universal human rights to impose sanctions on the leaders of the government of Cambodia who are implicated in these state-backed extrajudicial killings. We ask you to be with us, to support us, to be part of a campaign to end the culture of impunity in Cambodia and to find justice for those who have been waiting for justice for their loved ones killed by the state. There cannot be real peace unless there is justice. There cannot be justice unless there is independent investigation. And then to take those cases to an independent justice system. Join us by signing on this petition. Thank you.
Chúng រួមគ្នាបញ្ចប់នីតិរដ្ឋភាពដើម្បីយុត្តិធម៌នៅកម្ពុជា
Thank you and hello again and welcome. The purpose of this show tonight is to bring awareness to the awful political situation in Cambodia. Tonight, guests will help us with our journey, our listening, and also learning from a personal perspective so that we can better be informed and better be equipped to do our part to help out Cambodia. So thank you for joining our show. This is again Khmer Youth Voices for Justice. Before I start our show, actually I would like to introduce my guest, and then I would like to also do a current events before we go into our topic. I have two guests today. Both of them been here many times, and thank you both guests. They know who they are. My first guest, her name is Sita Arunson. She is the CNRP supporter. Let me bring her out. How are you?
Good.
Good, thank
this
you.
Is the English channel.
Let me inform our audience. We have a little bit technical difficulty today, but we get through that. And also, our show is usually at 6 p.m., which is 9 p.m. in East Coast, 6 p.m. on West Coast. But from now on, our show will start at 6:30 on the West Coast and 9:30 at the East Coast, so 30 minutes later. So that way it's give both our guests and also both me, who the host, time to prepare for the show as well, because we all work and we appreciate that you here, Bong Sita. Thank you for being here.
No problem. Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
And my second guest, his name is Sammady. He's been here so many times. And so Sammady.
How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
How's life with Sammady? How's life in Los Angeles, California?
Stay home since the COVID case increased again. Just staying safe, and hopefully everything is dialed down a little bit. For those who haven't gotten the vaccine, I hope they go ahead and get it because everyone is eligible to get the vaccine now. It's not restricted anymore. So to protect yourself from this pandemic.
Thank you, Sammady. Are you still online schooling or are you gone on campus already?
Well, the school asks you to upload your vaccine record, but most of my classes still said TBA to be announced. So I don't know if we going back or we going online. Cal Poly is in LA County, so they have to follow the rules of the Los Angeles. They have to oblige.
Yes, and also I cannot say enough what somebody just said. LA County COVID infection rate is rising every single day. So please, if you have not get vaccine, get yourself vaccinated. And even though if you vaccinated, you get sick, but your chance of having difficulty is less likely than people that unvaccinated. So please get yourself vaccinated. You can go to any, I guess your personal doctor also can provide you vaccinate as well. So I couldn't agree more with you, Sammady. And thank you for bringing that subject up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me bring Sita back. Before we start into our topic today is 2022 ASEAN Chairmanship Cambodia. The next year, I believe, less than 5 more months, Cambodia will host the ASEAN meeting, which consists of many Asian community. We will talk about that in more detail. But before we start our topic, I would like to bring our current event. Many times our current event has to do with human rights or democracy. Yesterday, the Human Rights Watch, we're going to talk about human rights and environment today. Yesterday, the Human Rights Watch released 137 pages titled Underwater Human Rights Impact of China Belt and Road Project in Cambodia. Before we get started, let's watch a video that I have from their website and basically explain what's going on so I would like to share that and before we talk and about the topic. That's not what I want to share. Let me see. Share screen.
So this entire area, top of what used to be Shreko Village, it was completely flooded after the lower Saison-Du Dam was completed in 2017. The lower Saison-Du Dam is one of the widest dams in Asia. The project is part of the Chinese government's Mammoth Belt and Road Initiative, an investment and infrastructure project that the government began in 2013 to advance Chinese foreign policy interests globally. Flooding of the dam's reservoir inundated numerous communities and damaged the ecology of the region. In addition, about 5,000 people, mostly indigenous or ethnic minorities, lost their homes. Most of the villagers didn't have appropriate compensation. Some who were relocated but now live in an area quite far from here and pretty disappointed about what happened to their village. Much of the damage and devastation the dam would bring was known before it was built, and locals voiced their concerns even then.
ការរុះរើផ្ទះសម្បែងគោក្របីជ្រូកមាន់ជួបការលំបាកនឹងស្ថានភាពដីស្រែមន្ទីរពេទ្យសាលារៀន
និងទន្លេស្រែពុកត
ខ្ញុំព្រួយអារម្មណ៍ណាស់រឿងនេះខ្ញុំស្ដាយដីភ្លីខ្ញុំ
មិនចង់ចោលទេព្រោះស្ដាយផ្ទះសម្បែងរាប់លានហើយដងស្វាយមានទាំងអស់បើថានៅដីថ្មីថ្មីទៀតមានដងមានស្វាយ
Many of those displaced were moved to areas that lacked clean water and the soil was not well suited for farming. They received inadequate compensation for the loss of their homes or income. Tens of thousands whose livelihoods depended on fishing on the rivers around the dam suffered enormous losses in income.
នៅភូមិថ្មីនេះបើសម្រាប់គ្រួសារខ្ញុំដូចជាគ្មានចំណូលអីវាតិចជាងនៅភូមិចាស់ជាកសិករទេក៏ប៉ុន្តែការងារវាជារឿងធម្មតាជាការប្រកបមុខរបរនេសាទណារួមផ្សំជាមួយនឹងកសិករធ្វើខ្សែដូចការនោះចង់និយាយថាអ៊ីតាលីក៏វាឆ្ងាយអ្វីដូចនៅភូមិចាស់គាត់ដឹងឲ្យស្រាប់ហើយថាខ្ញុំផ្ទះខ្ញុំនៅជាប់ទន្លេ
The dam has decimated the fish population in a country where fish makes up 60 to 75% of the protein of the Cambodian diet. So we're in a village on the Srikor River. Some villagers said they used to catch up to 40 kilos of fish a night. Now they sometimes struggle to get 10, often less than that. The fish are also smaller and fetch less money, sometimes only $1 a kilo, and they're struggling to survive. The companies involved in the lower Sisan 2 project, as well as the Cambodian and Chinese governments that authorized the project, should review the project's impact urgently and allocate significant new resources to remedy the harms they've caused. As the Chinese government finances other Belt and Road projects, whether in Cambodia or elsewhere, government and company officials need to take far greater steps to protect the human rights of affected communities and compensate them when they're harmed.
That what our topic that relate to human rights and environment. And as you this report just came out yesterday, 137 pages. I have read a summary of that report. I skimmed through it. I also I also read the review on many websites regarding that. Many Cambodian people in Cambodia responded by saying that, we should be proud that Cambodia is able to build a dam, so that way it can generate electricity. At the same time, when nearly 5,000 people are affected, and 5,000 people move from where they used to live, where their job is fishing, but move them to a land where there's no way for them to make a living, there's no way for them to generate any income. That is not a trade-off. That's not a fair trade-off. Sammady, how do you feel for all that comment on Facebook that they're saying, Cambodian is, very proud of themselves that they are able to generate electricity in Cambodia itself?
Well, that is because Cambodia don't have any respects for those people that live there. Like most people that go ahead and comment that kind of questions. Those people, if I remember correctly, they are indigenous people, like the people who live in the land for a long time, and also their ancestors maybe live here before the Cambodia even become Cambodia. So if you were indigenous people in the US, they will give you a land open casino, and the government cannot enforce any law on indigenous people. And as you can see, it's completely different in Cambodia. The government, instead of move them into a place where they can find living, farming, they just move them into a drought land. It looks so dried. The land looks so dried. So I don't know how they're going to make a living off of that.
I am for the development in Cambodia, what it called, what in Cambodia. But when you develop in Cambodia, and many times the people suffering with land grabbing. This case, they move the people to an areas where they have no chance of surviving, no chance of making a living in their land because it's so dry. They used to live close to the water and their main job is fishing. So now what are they going to do? So yes, the development is good, but the regime need to consider development and at the same time taking care of people. Bong Sita, you want to add anything to our first current events that just came out yesterday? This is actually affecting human rights, which is not properly taking care of the people, and also talking about the environment. It's affecting environment as well.
Yeah, well, you both already touched the basic, core of the information already, that over 5,000 people that have been affected by the result of the dam. And of course, the other people who receive electricity, they said, oh, it's great. But what's not great if it's affected your family. So, there's a pro and con, but then at the same time, in America, when when the government or companies, want to develop something, they compensate the people who live in the land, and they move them, and they compensate them properly, with the fair market's value, and also the place that they're gonna move them to. It's gonna The new place they can live off the land, can be sustainable for their family livelihood. But in this situation, it looked like it did not happen. Just give them a small compensation, and put them in a dry land, like somebody said, and they cannot make a living to feed the family, and that's just outright inhumane, and the government turn their eyes the other way and pretend that everything's great, but the reality, the independent reporters, have many reports, and as today's report that came out in the Human Rights Watch reports, it's just the opposite. And 2-3 years now, and those people are suffering the same, as great as when they were first moved out. So, yeah.
Thank you, Bong. Yes, it is true. And also the China company repeatedly claimed that the dam can produce almost 2,000 gigawatt hours per year of electricity, which is equal to 1/6 of the Cambodia's entire annual electricity productions. But in reality, when they went and report on the tax, it's only half of that. So it's clearly against and against the development in Cambodia has affected the poor and affected the land, and also when the electricity generated, the money is only half of that being reported. So when do you feel, Sammady, is it they underestimate their production, or the tax revenue is not it's not reporting correctly? What's the likelihood of that?
I think it's the money that goes into making this. So in Cambodia, one thing we know for sure is it never be 100% of the things that they report. It is not going to go 100% into the government pockets to help the people, especially during this time of the year, like a pandemic in Cambodia is the highest right now, COVID, and the government just take this chance to make profit off of electricity now, which is they take a lot of share out of this revenue. 1/6, you said? That's a lot of money.
That's 1/6 of the electricity that dam should be producing 1/6 of the electricity in Cambodia, but instead it's only half of that being reported regard on the tax revenue. Yeah, so that's corruptions everywhere. I also have another topic that in regarding to corruptions as well. When I was watching that video, there's another video that came up. So I want to watch that video before we go into our the next one is regarding the legislation that the Democrat came out last week. So that way we can encourage Cambodian American to help out with this legislation and also the bill as well. On August 5th, which is last week, Senator Markey of Massachusetts, Senator Rubio of Republican of Florida, and Dick Rubin, he's a Democrat of Illinois, announced they will introduce the Cambodia Democracies and Human Rights Act to hold the Cambodian government accountable. As Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen continued to engage in crackdown against human rights, democracy institutes, and political oppositions. Under Hun Sen leadership, the ruling Cambodian party has maintained one-party control of the government in violations of the Cambodian constitutions through corruptions, banning political opposition, political persecutions, repressive laws, and crackdown on free speech and the medias. Senator Markey made a statement. He said this legislation makes clear that the United States will not stand by as Hun Sen and his cronies corrupt Cambodian democracy, prosecute and jail oppositions and political activists, target free speech and independent medias, and enrich themselves through rampant corruptions. The video show clearly the corruptions. I believe those people that's on that video is like what we call dirty dozen, where they really rich in Cambodia. Before that, I believe in July 26, there's also a bill, it's called 4686, that will also introduce as well, and that is to sanction the regime. As Cambodian American, Bong Sita, what can we do to help push this legislation and also push the bill so that way it become a law that the President Biden can sign?
We can call on to our Congress and senators to help support those bills when it comes to the floors. So last time we had a similar bill introduced by other senators, the HR 526. We got it through to the senator floor, but it didn't go all the way through. So now other senator and Congress introduced other bills. The same thing. It's for the Cambodian Democracy Act. So what we as an individual can do is to call on or write letters or call them or email them, however way you want or can do, to let them know, please support the bills that's coming out. Just like you mentioned, there's 2 different bills, so whichever one that will pass and get through both floors, the Congress and the Senate floor, will go to the president. So we have higher hope this time around because the Senate and the president is from the Democratic Party, so it's most likely it's going to pass and get to the president's desk for him to sign. So we just need to do our parts to let your congressmen and senators know that as we are as their constituent, ask them to support the bills. And yeah.
Yes, thank you. Well, let me read a little bit on the Cambodia Democracy and Human Rights Act. It's apply asset blocking sanctions on anyone, including senior officials of the government, military, or security force of Cambodia that the president determined has undermined democracy in Cambodia, engaged in insignificant corruptions, or committed related human rights violations. Confiscate the State Department existing visa restrictions for individuals engaged in such activity. Sanctions may be sanction may be suspended for up to 1 year and renewed for 1 year period upon the president's certifications to Congress that Cambodia is making meaningful progress toward ending government effort to undermine democracy, ending related human rights violations, and conducting free and fair elections. So we have, like I said, HR 4686 is it's also a bill, and also this one is legislation that introduced by for basically bipartisan, meaning both the Republican and the Democrat introducing this legislations, and it should and as American, as a Cambodian American, we all should take part. We all should call our representative, should either call or write our representative, also call our senator. Each state have 2 senators, so we should look them up, and also our representative. Each district wherever you live, you have different representatives, so please look them up, write them, and have them support both the bill and the legislation. Sorry, it's tongue twisting. Legislations. Somebody, you want to put any word into this? The last 2 weeks that the American government that came out with all these, the bill and also the legislations from last week.
I feel like they put more pressures in Cambodia more than the UN has, because the United States know that they cannot rely on other form of party to help Cambodia, because as you know, the U.S. Also one of the biggest donors to Cambodian government. So they are the one who has the loudest voice when it comes to telling Hun Sen like not to do this, or else we're gonna take measures against you. So I think this is a great uh, um, move by the U.S. Because they know if they can't do anything, they know that a lot of the regime put money into the U.S. That's the thing that they can do against the Hun Sen regime. Mute, mute, bomb.
Thank you, Sammady. Forgot to unmute myself. Thank you, Sammady, and thank you, Bong Sita, for sharing your input regarding our two current events. That I mean, there's many things that happened this week, but that's the current event that I brought up because our show is only an hour, so now we have the show already. Let's go into our topic. Our topic is 2022 ASEAN chairmanship, which is Cambodia going to be a chairman of these ASEAN in 2022. This show is mainly this show is in English, so that way the American or different nationality that understand English can understand what's going on in Cambodia. Since we live in America, not many people might not aware that what is ASEAN. Bong can you help to maybe summarize what is ASEAN and what did they stand for, and why is Cambodia belong to the ASEAN?
Okay. Yeah, before we move on to that new topic, I just want to add a little bit more about the last topic we were talking about the bill. Just want to make sure that people understand that the bill, if it passed, it does not affect the Cambodian people. It will only affect the leader of Hun Sen region, the top leader who's the crony, the crooks, the corrupted one, that the bill can ban their travel, the bill can freeze their assets, things in that nature. It will affect the top leaders only, not the people. So, just want to make sure people understand that part, because some people would say, oh, whatever that we do, or the policy that American um, put forth, it will affect the people. The people are already poor and struggling, but this bill will not affect the people. So just want to throw that out, okay?
Thank you, Bong. Thank you for that clear explanations. And we all need to help out. We all need to, call or raise our senator and our representative. They work for us, so they should able to support, and they should know what we care about as a Cambodian American.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so move on to the topic that the new topic that you want to talk about is the ASEAN. It's spelled ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nation. It consists of 10 member states or 10 member countries. They consist of the country that's involved in the association of the Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, Brunei, Laos, Myanmar or Burma, Cambodia, and Vietnam. So the 10 countries together, they are formed called the ASEAN. And their purpose for the association, one is to accelerate economic growth, social progress, and cultural development in the region. And two is to promote regional peace and stability through the abiding respect of justice and the rule of law in the relationship among countries in the region. Now, try to remember those. Those are important points. Their goal, their mission of the ASEAN Association. And when we talk about it, about why the next ASEAN will be holding in Cambodia, how is this goal and aim of the association, how is it not being effective? So Okay.
So we host the meeting every 10 years because there's 10 country and they rotate each year to different country. Let me also add, not add, why I choose this topic because on August 8th, it's a 54th anniversary of the establishment of the ASEAN. During that time, Hun Sen came out with a statement. He said that he is committed to promoting ASEAN mechanism to address common challenges when Cambodia hold its third ASEAN chairmanship in 2022. He said that Cambodia will be open, will be honesty, integrity, goodwill, unity, harmony. So to solve common challenges face the whole region. So we host 10 years ago. I'm not sure you remember Sita. Let me put Sammady back. I'm not sure you and Sammady remember the last time we host was 2012. And during that time, Cambodia was being criticized and condemned by liberal groups for joining hand with China. Let me see, the fundamental principle of the ASEAN is they have a mutual respect for the independence, sovereignty, equality, territorial integrity, and national identity of all nations. So when they meet, at the end of their meeting, they would come out with a joint statement. So either all for the statement or they're not able to issue a statement. In 2012, for the first time, ASEAN was not able to issue a joint statement condemning China over the dispute island, which what we call right now the South Asia Sea. So based on his speech that he came out and he said he's committed to open and honesty, what's the likelihood that the history of 10 years ago going to repeat itself where we are the host country and Cambodia and also the ASEAN is not able to issue a joint statement regarding the issue that currently, I believe current issue is COVID-19 and also the Myanmar situation in Cambodia right now. And the ASEAN, I don't think ASEAN as a whole how issue a statement of which side they on yet, and that is a very disappointing. And at the same time, Sammady, what is the likelihood that the history will repeat itself because Cambodia is still leaning toward China?
Mhm. I feel like it is very likely because as you know, the ASEAN, I feel like it is failing on a human right perspective because during the meeting, during the summit recently, the human right released a statement saying that they believe that any participation from the junta, which is the military who throw a coup on the San Suu Kyi government, legitimized court like by letting them go into the ASEAN meeting is like you legitimizing them by even though they have a genocide slaughters being committed by their regime. As of now, is over 700 people that are being killed, protesters who basically want to restore democracy, and the ASEAN haven't able to release any statement yet because they know this is more than just Myanmar. They know China is behind this, and there's more countries that support this kind of action because, as you know, China has made a lot of friends in Asia.
Thank you, Sammady. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said it's very likely, so the history will repeat itself again.
Sita, how confident are you that the history will repeat itself where next year in Cambodia, the host country, and they are not able to issue a joint statement on what is the pressing issue right now.
It's not just repeating. It's not going to just repeating itself. It's going to be worse than what the last time came around. Last time around? The reason, just like somebody said, this year, it we all know Hun Sen's, the junta of the Myanmar, and a few other countries. They all dictatorship style ruling, and Vietnam is not so much dictator, but they are communist, socialist, hardcore, and in Thailand is also struggling with their of expressing the democracy. They leaning toward the dictatorship as well. That's why there's so many protests and that you see nowadays. So next year, Hun Sen's we owe so much money to China. So Hun Sen gonna just shut his eyes and close his ears and saying all the words that you read earlier, that his statement that he's gonna promote, but he's not walk the talk, and he just talk, but not doing the walk, and gonna be worse than the last time around because China have their hands so deep in Southeast Asia right now, especially in Cambodia already, that Hun Sen cannot even if he want to free from China, he cannot. It's just too much in debt to China, and he has to do he has to do what China wants him to do. So that's the sad part about this summit. It does not make any sense.
Yes, the word Bong is openness, honesty, integrity, goodwill, unity, harmony to solve the common challenges facing the whole region. The challenge facing ASEAN today, according to Hun Sen, is the obstacle include crisis of the COVID-19 epidemic, the increase in competitions, increased geopolitical rivalry, and confrontations between superpower have escalated into trade and technology wars. In addition, ASEAN is facing climate change, environmental, and transnational crime. Um, all these are really great wording, great talking. We just watched regarding environmental a minute ago that impact over 5,000 indigenous people up in Cambodia, and we also watching the corruption that's going on. So if he came out that he will be open, honesty, integrity, goodwill, it 10 years ago we were we basically we lost our face 10 years ago because we didn't for the first time the ASEAN's not able to issue a joint statement. Sammady, a couple months ago, our acting president, CNRP President Sam Rainsy, joined with other Asians community, and he created what they call SEACs. Can you help us to remind us what is that SEACs and why do we have that?
Well, because one thing is, he and other Asian country who see this ASEAN is failing because they cannot do anything to help solve the problem. So they decide to create a new one, which called SEAC, also known as Southeast Asia Community, which include countries like Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, um, come together and make a joint statement that we must create something different than ASEAN. We call this Southeast Asia or SEAC as an alternative to multilateral organization to place the intergovernmental ASEAN. So this is basically another. It's like ASEAN, but this time their goal is to help solve issues, the current issues that happen in Asia. In this case, we look at Myanmar, which need to be uh, take a closer look at that. Just not just we will release an envoy into Myanmar and not doing anything about it. That's what the ASEAN released a statement a few days ago after the meeting. They said they will release the envoy into Myanmar and take a look into it, but as of now, there's no action against Myanmar yet. So basically, it's just a waste of time that everyone go to ASEAN and they haven't found any solution for Myanmar.
And the same thing as Cambodia, the opposition, our CNRP party got dissolved, and none of the other 9 countries even say or sanctions Hun Sen for that. They have a policy. I forgot the word that don't get into other people country policy. I couldn't remember what's the correct word to say.
Non-interference. That's
Yeah,
it.
and non-interfering with other country, and that need to change when it's come to affecting human rights and it's come to democracy. Everybody need to be involved, not just watch. And like right now, the ASEAN is watching Myanmar and not say anything. And based on Mr. Sam Rainsy, that's creating that CX, and so that way we stop watching, the ASEAN leadership stop watching and let the country deal itself, because it's not working. It's have not been working, and this is what, the 54-year anniversary already.
Mhm.
Yeah. If I may add, the the 10 countries that form the association of the ASEAN, like the Vietnam, Thai, and Laos, and Cambodia, and Myanmar, they are, like I mentioned earlier, dictator style leaderships. But the other country, like Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, they have very good democratic system in their countries. They should speak out against the other country. They should not be just silent. Why the association be the union of the association for, when we can't, I know the law or the policy, no, non-interference and all that, but it does not make any sense. Why is the union of the association for, if you cannot say what you have to say about what's going on in your neighbor, or express your ideology, or speak out for those who cannot speak out for themselves. That's my question for them.
Yeah, and also when all 10 countries cannot make a joint statement, there's no sanctions on Cambodia, who's not for signing with China, and there's no repercussions and there's no consequences for that.
Yeah, because the half of those 10 countries, the one I mentioned earlier, like Laos, Cambodia, Myanmar, and Vietnam, are already supporting China's movement and supporting dictatorship style leadership. So of course they're not gonna come out with a joint statement to to promote democracy and promote human rights and promote fairness and all that stuff, because they are the one who's doing all those, just the opposite of that already themselves. So they cannot support those ideology.
So on your opinion, Sammady, should we abandon, not we, because as an ASEAN we get benefit from it, Cambodia get benefit from it, it should change. And acting Sam Rainsy already created a CX. How would that help? How would that help it bring democracy more, or how other country care about Cambodia and say, democracies and human rights is the most important thing?
Well, the SEAC is different. It's only involve countries who truly believe in genuine democracy, and I believe this could be a big step toward democracy in Cambodia, because when you have a like-minded country who support a democracy and doesn't support violating human rights, like in Cambodia, we can take further measure into improving this condition. But in ASEAN is different. Is a lot of country, like 10 countries, and almost more than half of them supported communist style dictatorship like Myanmar, without taking any action against it. 700 people dying, and there's still no action against the Myanmar regime yet. So I believe we need to take another step to improve this in Asia, especially.
I totally agree with you, and that is the reason why I brought this subject up when I heard him saying came out on the fifth, I believe, the 54th anniversary of ASEAN, and came out with he is committing to promoting ASEAN, and while at the same time against that he is not, he's the one that go against them, and also not able to the ASEAN 10 years ago. ASEAN, Cambodia did it again in 2016, where it signed with China, keep continuing sign with China, that the ASEAN is not able to issue a joint statement, and that is an embarrassment, and also that is also it's embarrassment.
I forgot to add on top of that. I think Myanmar released a statement. They know the ASEAN soft spot is peace, because right now the only way for Myanmar to be in power for 2 more years is using the word peace. So the regime said that they will have free and fair elections during the meeting in 2 more years. So basically a delayed game. So if you give us 2 more years, we will have a free and fair election in Myanmar. Like in Cambodia, Hun Sen promised, if you gave us 2, 3 more years, we will have free and fair elections in Cambodia. By that time, they already built all the structures they need to build to win the election again, or maybe throw another coup. And they said, wait another 2 years, and everyone agreed to it. So ASEAN just playing a peaceful game with a dictatorship countries that is currently killing people every day without taking any actions against those type of countries. So just waiting game. I believe this is not going to solve anything in the future by playing this peaceful game against a dictator country.
Thank you, Sammady. We are at the end of our program, and thank you, Sammady, for detailing that on the ASEAN, which Cambodia will host in 2022. Bong Sita, you have anything to add to the topic? And we all know from our conversation today that things will not change. Hun Sen will still side with China. So whatever the issue that's going to be brought up in 2022, the result is going to be cannot have a joint statement again.
Well, my final words I want to say two things from taking out from this show is, one is to support the new bills that coming out by calling your Congress. So are you going to put in the link to those bills so people can read about, Linda?
Yeah, the CNRP-America Facebooks already have that link, but I can post it again after this. But I believe less than a week ago we posted up. So we really need Cambodian American to support the bill. Call and write your representative. Call and write your senators. Each state have 2 senators, and wherever you live in a different district, that's your representative. Please email them, write them, and tell them to support the HR 4686 and also the new legislation bill that came out, which is the Democracy Act. It's called the Cambodian Democracy and Human Rights Act. Please do your job. You are an American citizen. We are an American citizen. Our duty is to vote. The other one is to make sure our representative, people that represent us, know what we care about and what we concern about.
And not only the Cambodian American, anybody who like to see the corruption, who the dictatorship, leaderships not stepping on American lands, and and they get punished for what they do, can help do the same thing. Call your representative, say, hey, I want to join, I want to help, please support as a representative, as a Congress, as a senator, to help sign, support those bills. And the second thing that I want to say also is that, the ASEAN Association is not effective. Let's abandon them. Let's move on with the SEAC, the new association of the Southeast Asian community, to help support their movement as well. They are starting to form a new movement, just like Sammady said and Linda said earlier, that they are supporting more democratic leadership style, not dictatorship style. So help support that movement also. So those two things that I want to to promote today. Thank you.
Thank you, Bong, and thank you, Sammady, for being here today. I just, it's a tough subject to talk about, because in order to talk about, we need to be really into political science, into really know what's going on. And you both did a really great job on touching base what is ASEAN and why is it's not effective, and and this the reason it's not effective because we have a regime that consistently doing the same thing over and over again. And also we need to support is that what you call CX? CX?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Bong Sita, for being here, and thank you, Sammady, for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Our show is at the end right now. Thank you so much for joining our shows. And again, I want to repeat what Bong Sita has said. Please help to support HR 4686 and also legislation called Cambodia Democracy and Human Rights Act. Please have your friend, your family call, write your representative and your senator, so that way it will pass, and it will pass from Congress, pass in the Senate, and also will be on the President Joe Biden's desk, so we can so he can sign this. Please help to support that, and thank you so much for joining our show. I appreciate that. I hope you have a good evening, and I also hope you have a good week and also a good weekend. So I will see you next Tuesday. Thank you.